How's it going, patrons? Welcome back to Patreon. Another video is going to come out today. It's right here. So we have our newest money-making method, and today we are on old school RuneScape. Yeah, old school RuneScape. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So as you can see right here, this is my Fat Munchlax account. This is my old school RuneScape Fat Munchlax account. And if you look at my skills, you can see that I'm not really that far on old school RuneScape, and I've had a pretty good amount of people that are interested in old school RuneScape content, and I'm probably going to be doing some more of that. But anyway, this video is about today's money-making method. So here's the deal. As you see, I've got 14 million cash right here. There's also some more cash, and I've got some more cash in the bank. But you do not have to have a whole lot of money in order to make a lot of money in this money-making method. So as I said before, this money-making method is literally anywhere from 5 to 30 million or more per day, and only takes a few minutes a day. And you don't actually have to be an old school RuneScape player. So I understand that most of the people that are on my Patreon are not old school RuneScape players, but maybe some of you are. If you're not an old school RuneScape player, don't worry about it. Even if you're not, you can definitely still do this method. So you have to really think outside the box if you want to make really big and good money, you know. And so this is definitely one of the think outside the box, and this is one that really not a lot of players take seriously and honestly try to do. So what you're going to want to do on this is you're basically going to be flipping. Now the thing about this is when you think about your RS3 account, you have 8 slots on your main account, and then you might have an alt. If chances are, if you're part of my Patreon, you probably have an alt. If you don't, you should definitely work on getting one. But if you don't have an alt, you have eight slots on your GE. What that means is that it would be pretty cool, obviously, to have more than 8 slots, and that's kind of where this comes into play right here. You're able to have a brand new set of slots on old school RuneScape. So if you look right here, you have 8 new slots on the Grand Exchange. Because the Grand Exchange, I'm just going to make this video as if you've never played old school RuneScape, because I'm sure a lot of people don't play it if they play RuneScape 3. As you can see, you have 8 slots in here, so it's treated just as a normal GE, obviously, because it's the old school RuneScape GE. But you can do your flips on your old school RuneScape account while still having your main account. And the cool thing about this is you don't have to have a whole separate account, and that's the reason why this money making method is viable for us, is because of the fact that what you can do is log into old school RuneScape using your already existing member account that you have. So the one you play RuneScape 3 on, you also have an old school RuneScape account for that account. Some people don't really realize that they don't have to have a whole new account. You don't have to pay extra memberships or anything like that. So simply just log in and you're good to go. So once you get on here though, start by flipping. So I'm going to go into a little bit of detail, and then I'll kind of tell you how to start from scratch. So I did start from scratch. I started from scratch in this account with having pretty much no money. I spent a little bit of time on here doing a little bit of skilling, as you can see, doing a little bit of combat, as you can see, because I was having fun with the nostalgia of it. But on the all seriousness though, I made hardly any of my money from this account actually doing the skilling and everything, hardly any of it. And actually, if you look at my bank, I'll show you. In my bank, I've actually still have my U-logs and my lobsters that I fished and cut down. So I really haven't even cashed out on what I did on skilling. So this should be pretty obvious here that you can definitely make some good money without really spending a whole lot of time on your account. So when you look in the Grand Exchange, basically what you want to do is find some Grand Exchange items. So right here what I did is I bought these big bones and then sold these big bones. I paid 251 each on these big bones. I sold them for 279, so it was about 28 GP margin. 28 GP margin on these. Let's see, 28 times 47.96. Oh wait, I typed it in wrong. 28 times 47.96 gets us 134,288. Now something you have to remember though is that the old school RuneScape currency is actually worth 6 times the currency on RuneScape 3. So that's something to for sure keep in mind. So let's take that number times 6. So what I actually just earned on these big bone flip, on this big bone flip, was 805,728 gold. That's how much I actually earned. So when I transfer this money over to RuneScape 3, that's how much I will actually have. And so see, now I have 15 million. So with this 15 million right here is actually not 15 million. This 15 million, if you take it times 6, is actually 90 million gold. And so there's that right there. I've also got these items right here because I was going to try to mess around with sweet corns. That's 12 million gold worth of sweet corns right there. But see, keep in mind that there's the conversion rate. So that's basically how you're able to make an extra 5 to 30 million a day, is by simply going on here and setting your flips up. You've got 8 different slots here to use. Some good examples would be the big bones. So big bones is something that I've been doing a little bit. And there's a lot of different items. You don't have to stick with big bones. So let's buy one big bone, for instance. It comes at 285. Now let's sell one big bone, for instance. And it goes 277. So right now there is a 8 GP margin, but I'll be totally honest with you, items like big bones and stuff like that, where people get them for common drops, you can put your offer in for much lower than 277. So what I would actually put my offer in here for, I would have big bone. I know that it's going to go for lower than 277 here eventually. I'm going to put it for 251, and then I'm going to put an offer in for 10,000 of them. Now hopefully this offer will fill. When this offer fills, the next time I'll put them in there for 285, and I'll end up making about 34 each, and that gets quite a bit. So if I was to pay 2.5 million for these, and then they go to 285, that means I make 350,000. If I take 350,000 times 6, that's 2.1 million actual money that I just earned from that one flip. So that's only one slot that I'm using, and there you go. So if you have enough money on old school RuneScape, as you can see for this item right here, it's only 2.5 million. Which even if even if you don't have a whole lot of money, it's not that difficult to get 2.5 million on here. That's equal to 15 million RuneScape 3. So 15 million RuneScape 3 fills up one of my slots, and I'm able to make 2 million pretty much every day just from this one slot. If I was doing an item just like Big Bones and I had 8 of these, that means I'd be making about 16 million a day just from this right here, just from items like this. There's a lot of other items you can do as well, but it really depends on how much money you have on old school RuneScape. If you're like, well, this method, I don't know if it'll work for me because I don't have a lot of money on old school RuneScape. Well, quite simply, all you gotta do is just go find somebody who's willing to swap the gold. You can easily find a gold swapper if you go to Clan Quark. It's just join Clan Quark as a guest, as a clan guest, and then you will find somebody in there that is willing to swap. And there's some pretty trustable people in there. And also, you don't need to swap for like any ridiculous amount of money. Just swap for a small amount of money and work your way up. I actually started flipping on this account with 1 GP, and I've gone from 1 GP up to where I'm at. And I've got probably about 30 million old school RuneScape gold in here right now, which is equal to 180 million RS3. So we'll show you a couple more things here. So Sapphire Bolts, if I was to throw one of those in there for minimum, just for testing my items here, we'll go ahead and do that. Boom, Sapphire Bolt, 129. Sapphire, like in general, things that have an average price will probably go back to the average price. Something really cool about old school RuneScape flipping too, when you're adding this to your arsenal of things to do for extra money, is keep in mind the fact that the market does not change as much on old school RuneScape because they don't introduce as many items. And if you look at that right there, 160, that's pretty awesome. That means there's a pretty good margin on these Sapphire Bolts actually. I'm going to put these in there for 159 each, and boom. Those will eventually sell. I could be buying them and making a good profit right there, and you can buy 10,000 of those bolts per 4 hours, so that's actually a really great way to make money right there, a really good flip. So as you see, finding these items are actually really easy to find. I'm actually going to be adding a flip mastery option for old school RuneScape onto the Patreon fairly soon. So if you're interested in that, you can definitely grab the old school RuneScape flip mastery that I'm going to be coming out with probably next month. But until then, you can always just ask me, and I will for sure help you guys find some items, to be flipping on here. I know quite a few items, and I've been doing them. Actually, another great item you guys can be doing is these sweet corns. Sweet corn is a very random item on here, but a lot of people use sweet corns because of the fact that they want to do cooking profitably. So We can check the margin on these sweet corns real quick. 357. Go ahead and sell one. 340. So there's a 17 GP margin on that sweet corn. In all honesty, I often sell these sweet corns for far over that price. At one point, I was selling these sweet corns. I was buying them for about 320. So on this amount of sweet corns, that'd be 1885, and I was selling them for 500 each. So as you can see, that's a little over 1.1. That's a little over 1.1 million, which is nearly 7 million in RuneScape 3 gold. So that's 7 million that I'd be earning just from one slot. So even if you're not a fan of old school RuneScape, and I don't really play a whole lot of old school RuneScape, although since people want the old school RuneScape content, I might do more of it. I don't play it a whole lot, and it's still very, very easy just to go on here and do some flipping real quick. I mean, you can honestly just hop on here, you can check your flips. It only takes anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes to update your flips. And as soon as you find some good items, just stick to those items. Another item right here is sharks. I'll go and show you guys some more items here so you have some more examples. Keep in mind that the examples I'm using in this video are most likely people are going to be trying to use these items. So you might have a little bit more competition because other people on Patreon will be now using these items, but they will still be good. Just test your prices. So as you can see right there, that was a good margin as well. You can look in the history obviously to check to see what you got. So 139 to 141. That's not the greatest margin right there. As you can see, the sweet corn margin was much better. The sapphire bolt margin was also way better. But just keep in mind about the amount of profit potential you've got here. And honestly, when you consider that profit potential, that's the reason why this right here is a new money-making method. And I am not the only one that is doing the. Sorry, my phone is just exploding over here. I am not the only person that is doing old school RuneScape as a method of making supplemental money for their RuneScape 3 account. And if you guys are also not doing that, I really wanted to make this our first method for January because of the fact that it is a very, very, very good and viable method. Also, yeah, this video is a little bit longer because I just want to make sure that you guys aren't going to be running in here blind. I want to make sure that you have a good idea of how to come on here and try to be successful on the old school RuneScape marketplace. So as you can see right here, let's just show for a quick example here these sapphire bolts. So 160 to 129, that's a 31 GP margin. So 31 GP times 10,000, because that's how many you can buy per 4 hours. Now you can do the 4-hour period 6 times, 24 hours, right? So that's a full 24-hour period is 1,860,000 gold that you can profit on doing sapphire bolts, which if you convert that to RuneScape 3, that's 11.16 million. So 11,160,000 gold is how much profit you would make in one day by flipping those sapphire bolts right there. So I mean that's really hard to ignore, guys. I mean, if you have 8 slots, say you manage to find, and I say manage because in the beginning here, you're gonna have it's gonna take a little bit of practice because old school RuneScape has a different marketplace, but it's actually, you will find that the marketplace in old school RuneScape is actually easier to do because the items do not crash, and they don't drop as fast. Like items stay solid for a very long time. And another reason they stay solid for a very long time is there is no double experience weekend for old school RuneScape. So with that in mind, the items just they're not as volatile. So that means that you have a much less chance of losing your money on an investment. Like for example, these sapphire bolts. So I'm gonna go in here and buy these sapphire bolts because I'm sitting here talking about them. Might as well. I'm gonna go buy them for 130 a piece. I'm gonna buy 10,000 of these boys. That's 1.3 mil cash. I'll go ahead and throw that in there. Why not? So as you can see, I've got a 159 sell, a 130 buy. Over time, these would fill up. Hopefully, over time, these big bones would fill up as well. Let's go over some more items here. I'm going to show you guys some more examples of items that you guys can be doing. So let's try these. This is one of the items I very first started doing on old school RuneScape for doing flipping. So it's adamant boots. Now here's the deal with adamant boots. See how I tried buying them right there? Okay, they actually bought, but they go for way over the Grand Exchange mid. The reason why is because there's actually a smaller amount of supply on these adamant boots. It's a lower supply item. And also, not a lot of people take the time to actually put these in the GE. These are items that are often left on the ground and people don't pick them up. So What that means for us is that we can make a pretty good margin on an item like this, because if people just disregard these, and not a lot of people throw these in the GE, that means that it makes a very large margin. Also, newer players, or not really newer, but I guess players that hit adamant armor are going to want these boots. So now, as you see right here, when you put them in for instant sell, it's a 1,044 sell. That's even lower than the GE mid. That's because there's also not that many people buying them. It's only like the newer players who are hitting adamant. So we look in the list right here. That's about a 450. Yeah, it's 456 is our margin on that one. That is amazing. So you see, there are definitely items that have really good margins, which is once again another reason why I'm making this our first method for January. I don't know. I've just got this idea in the back of my head that there's going to be a bunch of people that watch this video and be like, oh my god, it's old school RuneScape. I don't want to do that. But here's the deal, guys. Treat this like a mini game. I mean, because that's really what it is. Like, if you're not an old school RuneScape player, an old school RuneScape is basically a mini game. But it's a mini game, though, that you can just make a ton of money in. Imagine if you were to buy 10,000 of these adamant boots. So 10,000 adamant boots. Now we're going to do 456 profit on each one. So 10,000 times 456 is 4,560,000. Now let's convert that to RuneScape 3 gold, 27,360,000 gold. And all you have to do is go in here, adamant boots, and you're going to buy 10,000 of them. 10,000 adamant boots, and that's not even an outrageous amount of money. So we know we're going to make 27,360,000 profit just by clicking enter. So there's our prices. Remember, we just found those prices. We'll go ahead and put it up by one. We just found these prices. These are our prices that we know work, and it's only going to cost us 10,450,000, which I understand can be that can definitely be a lot of money for a newer player on old school RuneScape. But if you transfer your money from RS3 over here, it's about 60 million cash is how much this is actually to buy this. But think about that. Think about that for just a second. When you flip on RuneScape 3, if you were to take a 60 mil item and try flipping it, are you even going to hope to make 27.3 million profit on that? I mean, that's 50% profit on that item. I mean, that is an unreal margin, which is once again is another reason why this is extremely viable, and it's something we should be paying attention to. So all right, guys, let's see what else can I possibly add. Okay, so if you are planning on using this method and doing the old school RuneScape, something you can consider doing is going and killing Chaos Druids, because Chaos Druids in this game are a really good way to make early game money. You can also just do some skilling or something like that if you want to earn your money. Or you can just transfer gold over to here. Like I said, use Clan Quark or something else really trustable. Just be sure that your person that you're going to be trading with is trustable. There are plenty of trustable traders out there. And no, I am not doing the swaps right now. But I'm sure there are a lot of people that will be doing that. But all right, guys, if you have any more questions about this method, or you would like some more assistance, if you have any more assistance with this method, any questions like that, send them to me in the Patreon message box. But otherwise, hop on old school RuneScape and then start making some money today. This is a really great way to make a bunch of money. And yes, it will take a little bit of time to save up and to get this going super profitable. But even from a fresh account with only a few thousand gold, you can definitely start to make some money. A great way to figure out how to just snowball some money. So I'll show you guys one more thing real quick. Let's look up black armor. Let's see what we got. Okay, so black armor. You want to find if you want to find something that has like a ridiculously stupid margin, find something like this. All right. So black helm H1. Black helm H1 is something not a lot of people are going to be buying. So when I go in here to buy offer, I buy it instantly for 200 below the GE. Now watch what happens when I put this in there for mid. And I have not tested this item. I'm just going off a hunch here. Put in there for one. Oh, 3807. Okay, well that one didn't work out the way I was planning on it. But what will happen is a lot of these really super obscure items, and mostly ones from treasure trails actually, you'll be able to sell them, and then they'll sell for like 1 GP. because that means the only person offering there is offering 1 GP. So keep that in mind too. For like using super obscure items, you can definitely make a good amount of money. Let's do, there's another item I was looking at here. Let's see, chopped garlic. Yeah, this is it. So chopped garlic. Watch me buy 1 chopped garlic. So chopped garlic is another one of those super obscure items. The GE mid price is 5,253, but I instantly bought it for 1,000 gold. Now watch what happens when I put this in here. Boom! It doesn't even sell for 1 GP. So let's see what happens. Yeah, look at that. Nobody is buying that, which means that somebody hopped on there and started buying for 2 GP. See what happens. Well, I bought my own. We'll start with that. And there we go. So I bought the only chopped garlic that exists in the Grand Exchange. Well, as far as someone trying to sell it. And that's just how it goes. So if you're trying to find a super obscure item like this where you're going to make a ridiculous margin, I mean, okay, buying them for 2 GP and selling them for 1,000 is still a hefty margin. And what I'm probably going to do is actually toss this in here. And there we go. That'll eventually sell off. The deal with those is that if you're trying to find a super obscure item like that, you want to find something where you can buy it for ridiculously low. There is a way to find those items. And so I'm hoping that this helps you guys out as well. The way you find those items is by going to a graph. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull up a graph and then switch my, screen capture here to go over to that graph. Just give me 1 second. I'm actually going to pull up the chopped garlic, and then you'll be able to see that. So chopped garlic. Okay, so give me 1 moment here. I'm just setting it up so that way I'll actually be able to show you this. Okay. All right. So it's a little bit zoomed in. Let me try zooming out a little bit. There we go. Okay, so this should be good to go. Hopefully it's recording it just as good as it looks. Like I said, it's a little bit longer video, but it's a much more in-depth method because this one is pretty much limitless how much you can earn. Okay, so here we go, guys. If we look at chopped garlic and you're trying to get a brand new account on Old School RuneScape, you're trying to find stuff that you can buy for like 2 gold and sell for like way more than what you paid or something like that. Go on to Old School RuneScape wiki. You can do the same thing for RuneScape 3 actually. It works for RuneScape 3 as well. But go on these charts right here. So as you can see, if I look on the 1 year for chopped garlic, it shows the exact same price. Like the price has not changed like at all. It only changed once. And this is a small item. So what that means basically is that the price just does not change, which means there's no demand for it, and there's also not really hardly any supply for it. It mostly means no demand. This is more of a demand graph. So what that means when I look in here and I see an item like this is that means that I will probably be able to go on there and buy this item for a small percent of what it's actually worth. So if you want to scope through Old School RuneScape wiki and try to find items like this is a great example. Let me see. Let's see. What would be another item that would probably be like that? Let's look at like chopped tomato. All these chopped items are like totally random items. Yep, there we go. Look at that. Also another one of those super boring, no demand graphs. That's another item you could probably go on there and buy for like 2 gold. Black heraldic armor. Let's see what we can find for this. So we'll go, because I was trying to use the black heraldic before. Let's do black heraldic H4. Let's see what this looks like on the graph. Okay, so this one has quite a bit more movement. Yeah, it's got quite a bit more movement. But even though it has quite a bit more movement, you can see that it has very flat parts of it. Like there's a good amount of time in between the price changes, which means that there is less demand for that. I'll show you what a graph looks like for an item that has a lot of demand, and you guys can see the obvious comparison. Now you see how a shark has a very smooth graph. This is what a lot of people don't know and don't have any idea about when they read these graphs. What it means when they have a very smooth graph like that, how it's all smoothed out, is that means it's constantly changing from high demand. So the more smooth your graph is, the more demand there is. And that's what you want to keep in mind when you're trying to find like a low demand item that you can snipe for a low price. Well, alright guys, thank you for watching this video. I really hope this method helps you out. Yeah, feel free to message me on Patreon about this method. And yeah, this method does kind of fall into the category of don't tell everybody about it, even though it's obviously, a lot of people know about flipping in RuneScape, flipping in old school RuneScape. Just don't discuss that method in the open friend chat, please. But feel free to talk about this all you want to with me on the Patreon messages, and I'll be sure to help you try to find some more items. But alright guys, I'll see you in our next video. Our next money making method, I've actually almost got it done. And I will be rolling that one out probably next week when I get back from my trip. So catch you guys later, and have a great Patreon day.